Your dog has never taken a psychology class. He can't read, he doesn't know what depression is, and yet, the moment you stop being okay, he's already there. That's not a coincidence, and the real explanation is far stranger than you think. Scientists have spent years studying this, and the answer they've landed on is not what most people expect. It doesn't involve emotion. It doesn't involve love. It involves something that's been quietly evolving inside animals for 100 million years. But before we get there, I need to tell you about a study that changed how researchers think about animal awareness entirely, because what they found should not be possible. Your body, right now, is broadcasting information, not metaphorically, literally. When you're distressed, genuinely distressed, your cortisol spikes. Cortisol is your primary stress hormone, and it exits your body through your sweat. You can't smell it, you don't even know it's happening. But a dog's nose has 300 million olfactory receptors. Yours has 6 million. The part of their brain dedicated to processing smell is proportionally 40 times larger than yours. Researchers at the University of Cambridge confirmed that dogs can detect a change in your cortisol from a sweat sample alone, before your face changes, before your voice breaks, before you've said a single word. They're not reading your mind. They're reading your chemistry, and they're better at it than any machine we've ever built. But detecting it and caring about it, those are two completely different things. Here's where it gets interesting. In 2012, researchers at the University of London set up a room with a single dog and a stranger, someone the dog had never met. At random intervals, the stranger would either cry, hum, or speak normally. When the stranger cried, the dogs moved toward them, almost every single time. They made physical contact. They oriented their bodies toward the crying person, not their owner, a complete stranger. When the stranger hummed, something equally unusual, the dogs went over to investigate. Curious, yes, but they didn't stay, they didn't press close, they didn't go quiet. The behavior was different, specifically different. The dogs weren't reacting to something strange, they were reacting to something sad. Behavioral scientists called it an empathic response, which is a careful, scientific way of saying, these animals felt something, and they chose to act on it. But dogs have lived with humans for 40,000 years. You could argue they've just learned our patterns, learned that crying leads to stillness, stillness leads to calm, and being nearby means reward. Fine, that argument collapses completely when you look at horses. In 2018, researchers at the University of Sussex showed horses photographs of human faces, one angry, one happy, and then played a voice recording that deliberately mismatched the face. An angry face with a cheerful voice, a happy face with a tense one. The horses reacted. Their heart rates elevated. They turned their heads to view the image with their left eye, which in horses is specifically associated with processing threatening or emotionally negative information. They weren't just seeing a face, they were cross-referencing it with sound, building a picture of what the human was actually feeling, and flagging the inconsistency as a threat. These animals have been reading us for 6,000 years. Some researchers believe they've developed a kind of emotional literacy unique to humans, a way of decoding our expressions, the same way they'd read another horse. They're not detecting your mood. In some real sense, they've learned to speak your language. Now here's the part that nobody has a clean answer for. The part that even the researchers who've spent their careers on this will pause before answering. When your dog comes and sits with you, is something happening on the inside? Dogs have oxytocin, the same bonding hormone that floods a human mother's brain when she holds her newborn. When your dog looks into your eyes, their oxytocin levels rise. So do yours. This happens in no other species when interacting with humans. Not cats, not horses, not wolves raised in captivity. Only dogs. Only the animal that chose, tens of thousands of years ago, to stop being wild and become something else instead. MRI studies on dogs. Yes, researchers have put dogs in MRI machines, trained them to hold still, show that when dogs smell the scent of their owner, the reward center of their brain activates. The same region that lights up in humans when they see someone they love. The scent of a stranger? Nothing. The scent of their person? The brain says, there they are. So why? Why would evolution build this? Why would the instinct to move toward suffering, toward pain, toward risk, toward a creature twice your size who might be dangerous, why would that survive? Because it had to. Social animals, dogs, horses, elephants, dolphins, survive because the group holds together. A pack that can't detect when something is wrong with one of its members loses members it needs. A herd with no awareness of each other's pain falls apart at the first predator. Emotional sensitivity isn't softness, it's infrastructure. It's survival code. Written 100 million years before language, before thought, before anything we would call consciousness. The ability to read pain in others, to move toward it, to stay. That's not a personality trait. That's a feature. And in the animals that kept it, it worked. It kept working. It survived everything. And here is the thing nobody tells you about that. When your dog walked over and put his head in your lap, he wasn't performing comfort. He wasn't following a script. There was no calculation, no decision tree, no plan. Something in him simply registered that you were not okay. And something else, something older than his species, older than dogs entirely, pointed him toward you instead of away. You can call that instinct. You can call it conditioning. You can call it a cascade of evolved reflexes that just happens to look like love. But across 100 million years of evolution, across every predator, every ice age, every extinction event that tried to undo it, that instinct survived. It survived everything. And then it walked across the room, and it sat down next to you.